Welcome to the Magic of Positive Thinking, a podcast hosted by Norb Savannasini, founder of AmericanEagle.com, and writer Al Edwards. Norb, I got two things to say to you. Number one, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
And happy 4th anniversary. This is our 4th anniversary show of our podcast. Can you believe it?
Unbelievable. Yeah, it really is. And you know, what's funny is that I always thank, the Lord for what he gives us every day and this gift, this present we get every day. And I was thinking about that 4 years that we've been doing this. And I have to say that I listened to some of the old shows, and I'm very proud of them. I really like what we talk about. I hope that some of our audience shares that because they're good, they're good. And shows like this, I think, are more needed today than ever.
Yeah.
If it's not our shows that talk about being positive in life, because God only knows that there ain't too many places that preach that anymore.
Exactly. And I agree with you. I'm also very proud. And again, I want to extend my gratitude to you and Mike and Tony and the company for the opportunity to do this with you. It's really been a privilege. And I also listen to our old show. Sometimes I get depressed and down, and I have to listen to our own show to pick myself up. So it's like physician, heal thyself sometimes. You know what I mean? So, well, friends, it is our 4th anniversary, as I just said, and we've got a fun show for you today. We're going to talk about a topic that I know is very near and dear to Norb's heart, and we're going to talk about some little-known facts about Walt Disney. Unless you have been living on another planet or under a rock, everyone knows who Walt Disney was and the Disney company is today. And I think Norb is uniquely qualified to talk about Walt Disney because you were born in Argentina, and the Disney movies were one of the first times you saw, Americana and the American culture and everything. Let's start out. Tell us what Walt Disney meant to you as a kid.
Well, Walt Disney, obviously, I think he's probably, I don't know of anybody that has brought more happiness to the world than Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And that includes everybody. Because if you were a kid in China, if you were a kid in Nigeria, South Africa, Argentina, and you saw Bambi, you understood what the importance of a mother was,
right?
The importance of a father was. You had seen happiness when Flower, the little skunk, danced, and Thumper, the rabbit. And then you had sadness. And when you walked out of that theater, everybody was in shock, but everybody learned a heck of a lesson.
Wow.
And then you saw, other movies from him that were very inspiring. They were just good. And one of the things about there's good and evil. I really believe that there is just good and evil in the world. I have a deep conviction that they both exist. And unluckily, today we have an incredible amount of evil, which is hard to believe because there's so many beautiful things in the world that is hard to believe that happens. But no, I mean, when you saw Pinocchio, what a moment when he becomes a little boy, the belief in that. And then you have the songs and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, who they thought he was totally crazy to have a full-length cartoon.
Right.
He really, really believed that people would pay to sit for an hour and a half to watch a cartoon. And,
right.
And he gambled everything he had to produce that film. In fact, the film still has an error at the end that he didn't have the money to correct.
I didn't know that. Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, when the prince goes to Snow White to wake her from her sleep, there's a little shake that the prince has, And Disney didn't have the money to actually correct that.
What do you mean by a shake? Like in the film?
Yeah, in the film.
In the animation? There was a
Yeah,
shake?
the animation.
Yeah.
And
like a bump of some kind?
yeah, it's a. I'm surprised you don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
No.
it's well known. It's not a rarity, but that's how much he gambled to produce this. And I think the picture at that time was the biggest grossing picture ever at the time. I think so. But an amazing person, amazing person. So.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why I think talking about Walt Disney fits so well into our show, because we talk about these life-changing, world-changing people, and when you realize their backgrounds, he didn't wake up just a magical success one day. He had a lot of adversity, and we've talked about that with Henry Ford and Edison and Lincoln and all kinds of people. So we thought we would talk today about some of the adversity that Walt Disney experienced, and I want to hear from you, Norb, on what you thought about this. First one is, early in his career, Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job after an editor told him he lacked imagination.
Oh, yeah.
He was fired for a lack of creativity. It's one of the most ironic rejections in creative history, and a reminder that early criticism doesn't define a human being.
Yeah, and this is one of the great things about this show that I'm very proud of, is that, there's a lot of shows that talk about being positive in life, but they don't really relate to the reality. The reality is that to have positive thoughts, you have to have a lot of negativity thrown at you, and you have to resist that by being positive. So I don't know what was on Walt Disney's mind when he was rejected, but obviously he didn't like it, and he didn't believe the person, because who is to judge? Who is to judge? Today we live in a world with experts. Today I was watching TV in the morning on some new show, and this guy comes in, and he was introduced as an expert in this field. And it was a field that I don't even remember what it was, but I thought, who gave this guy the title of an expert?
Right.
Because it was a subject that, like to be an expert on, I don't know, a bottle of water or something. I don't know. It was ridiculous. But today, we have all these experts, we have all this. And, Walt Disney was born in a very, very, I don't think it was poor, but they didn't have a lot of money. And
in Chicago, by the way, right?
Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah.
And then he delivered papers as a kid. I don't think he went to like the second or third grade or so. He delivered papers, and he was in love with like Riverview. What was
amusement parks?
Yeah, amusement parks, and he'd make a few bucks, and he'd make enough money to take the train to go to an amusement park. He just loved this, and he loved to draw as a kid, and he just has dreams, and he would not let any negativity enter what he wanted to do. And sometimes we live in such an incredible world. We've talked a lot about this today, that the average American doesn't think anything about running hot water, but you go to a faucet and you have hot water, and if you don't have it, there's a crisis in the home. And people didn't have hot water 100 years ago. They didn't have a faucet with hot water. That was really incredible.
Or even running water in the house.
Or a lot of them running water. So, sometimes I think that maybe a little adversity is good for you.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, the last 50 years or so, or 60, or even 70 into the 50s, people have had it pretty good, especially in this country.
Yeah.
And, back then when Walt Disney was a little boy, he didn't have that luxury. He just, he delivered paper, made a few bucks, did what he wanted to do. As Al mentioned, he got rejected for not having imagination, which is just like telling Michelangelo you don't have any ability to paint the figure.
Right, get out of here, kid.
Yeah.
Go get a real job.
Yeah.
Well, here's another interesting fact. Before Disney existed, and of course, when I say Disney, what we know today, not the man. Before Disney existed, Walt ran a studio called Laugh-O-Gram in Kansas City. It was a complete failure. He was broke. He was sleeping in his office and barely getting by. The collapse pushed him to move to Hollywood with almost nothing, where the Disney story would eventually begin. So again, through adversity, one word we keep saying in this show is perseverance. He kept going and he started over again.
Yeah, and I think it's important if we can just, some people that listen to us, please, adversity is actually good. Be happy when you get adversity. It's kind of funny. There's an old saying about when people, a lot of politicians or that come from money and stuff, he was born on third base and he thought he hit a home run, or what is the right?
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And guys like this are born, they're not on third base. They're not on second or first base.
Right.
They have to actually get up and bat and strike out. And even guys like Mickey Mantle that have a tremendous batting average lifetime, he failed to hit the ball much more than what he hit. And he was a star. So adversity is just part of life. And you have to welcome it. You have to. I actually feel sorry for people that just have it, real easy because of family or politics and all that. And all of a sudden they think they're something, but they don't have that magic that the Ford or the Edisons or the Disneys had, that they have to go through a lot of adversity,
Yeah. And the other reminder, of course, that we've brought up many, many times, and it's just so true, is that, these were just regular human beings. There was nothing special about, them more than you or I or anyone else, kind of thing.
No, right. I mean, it just, I don't know how tall Walt Disney was, but he wasn't, a giant. He wasn't a big guy. He wasn't anything that you'd say, wow, this guy is special just by looking at him, which some people have that trait.
Exactly.
But he was just a regular guy.
Well, this is something that you corrected me on recently, which I am ashamed I didn't know, but I know now. I said to you one time, and it all started with Steamboat Willie, which was the original Mickey Mouse cartoon in 1928. But you corrected me. There was another little guy before Mickey Mouse. Who was that?
Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Exactly. And before Mickey Mouse, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, because of a contract loophole, Universal Studios took ownership of Oswald and most of Walt's animators. That betrayal reshaped his mindset and directly led to the creation of Mickey Mouse, this time with ownership firmly in his control.
Yeah, which shows you also that, I've been in business all my life, and a lot of the teachings, the valuable teachings, were mistakes that I did.
Right.
Because I think if you're successful in business, you are going to make mistakes, but not twice.
Right.
So that's a great gift that somebody, tells you how to do it. I had a very interesting thing that happened to me with a company. I had a company that had a lot of machinery, and some of them were stamping machineries, which, if you don't know what they are, there's a lot of things that are stamped in metal. And it's a big machine, and a big piece of metal comes down and into a metal that has to be shaped.
Tremendous force.
Tremendous force.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of old machines with just one setup, because the most expensive thing there is, if you get a small order, is you get the setup.
Yeah.
And that costs more than the order. So if the orders come in, regularly, you just get an old machine and you set it up for that job. So that job comes in and you go to that machine, it does the job. And I had a guy that was a mechanic, and he was a really interesting character and a very smart guy, but also kind of a little difficult. But he came one day and he says, this machine broke, we got to change this. And I said, if it's $600, don't do it. Okay. So he goes, and about 2-3 weeks later, I get this bill for $825.
Whoops.
And I called him up and I said, I think I told you if it's 600. He says, yeah, it isn't 600. So he was right. He interpreted my telling him if it's $600, don't do it, as not as a limit, but as a figure of do or not do.
Oh, almost literally like a computer, off or on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, I actually, I wanted really to shoot the guy, actually, but I took it as a learning experience. I'm very careful now when I tell somebody, if it's this amount or more, don't do it. So, it's a lesson they don't teach at MBA schools,
right,
or anything like that. So I remember this, happily that I learned that, because it made me a much better person that he did that to me.
He took you literally.
And I think he did it, purposely.
Oh, I see. Because he was
that type of guy.
I see. Oh, okay.
But he taught me a big lesson, and I had a lot more respect when I talked to him about it, to be very careful how I talked to him. So, this is a minor thing, but minor things happen to us all the time. So learn from them.
Yeah.
Be happy it happened to you. Be happy.
Talking to him was like early training to know how to prompt ChatGPT, right? You have to be very literal about it.
Yeah, very
and be very, very exact. By the way, and you told me a story about that company. I laugh every time I hear about it. You told your guys there, if any of the machines out here seize up because you forgot to oil them, just go home and don't come back.
Yeah. Well, most machineries have an oil
cup.
A cup.
Yeah.
That you fill.
You can see it.
You can actually see it. It's a visual cup, and you pour oil into them, and that oil filters in the machine, so the metal parts won't bind up.
Right.
And I used to walk by, and I used to look at those things that I wanted them full of oil. And if they weren't full of oil, I would tell them, put oil, because oil is cheap.
Right.
You have a machine there that maybe costs $20,000 or more. And if the guy forgets to put oil in it, and which is very easy because you can see it.
Yeah.
It kind of upsets us. I never, by the way, I had that business for quite a number of years. I never had a machine break down for that reason.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. Because I set a rule,
But you told guys that. You said, I could just picture that.
Yeah.
If that machine seizes up and locks up because there was no oil in it, just go home.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to fire you. You're done.
Yeah. All right. There's no excuse. I mean.
Oh, it's funny. Okay. Well, here's another interesting thing. I didn't know this either. And there's actually some YouTube stuff on it that's really interesting. Opening day at Disneyland, which of course is in California, was an almost disaster.
Oh yeah, nothing was finished. It was horrendous.
Right.
Yeah.
When Disneyland opened in 1955, nearly everything went wrong. Unfinished attractions, counterfeit tickets, plumbing failures, and soft asphalt in the heat. Women's high heel shoes were sinking in the asphalt. Walt feared it might ruin his career. Instead, the chaotic beginning became the foundation of one of the most successful entertainment ventures in history. And it's like that old saying, fire, ready, aim kind of thing, right? You just got to do it.
Just got to do it. And, yeah, when people see Disney World today, and if you go to Disneyland, which is the original, you say, wow, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. But you don't realize everything that went into that. And you got to understand this. Walt Disney also was a very, very important guy in color television.
Mm.
He actually made ABC a popular network because CBS and NBC dominated the TV network in the 40s and 50s. That's who started it, and ABC was just a little tiny thing, but he started a show basically to promote the coming of Disneyland, and they call it the magic color of Walt Disney, something to that like that.
Yeah.
So they started. That's when color TVs actually started selling a lot.
Wow.
To watch Walt Disney shows because he had it in color. Because people used to watch black and white TV. They didn't know what color television was.
Right.
And the man had nothing but adversity in his life. And the interesting part about it is he never saw Disney World. He passed away before Disney World opened. Right. But he had that vision. And the other thing about Disneyland, which is interesting, I don't know if you got this thing, but, he imagined Disneyland. Everybody thought he was nuts, that nobody would go to a place like this just to go on rides and stuff. And he called one of his artists, and he says, I got this concept for Disneyland. I want you to draw it. So, the artist said, Walt, this is going to take a few weeks. He says, no, we're going to do it right now. And they sat down and they actually drew Disneyland.
Wow.
I don't know how many hours, but at that sitting, they actually drew it, a map. And Disneyland is pretty much what they wrote.
Kidding. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So, this guy had a vision that was incredible. And what's funny is that this guy didn't have a high school degree. He was never considered an expert in anything. And the stuff he did is just things that no expert would want to do because they knew it couldn't be done.
Right. Exactly.
You have to be dumb enough
right.
to believe in something and just keep plugging away.
In Zen Buddhism, they call that the beginner's mind, that you don't know enough to know you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it turns out you can do that.
Of course you can.
Because everyone else's thinking is limited.
Yeah.
That's funny. Did you have anything you wanted to go over right now, or should we keep going with
No. I hope this doesn't make it not interesting, but, this guy did so much for the world. So much for the world that, something that happened to me personally, which really touched me. And he actually, for the World's Fair in 1962, that took place in Queens, New York, Pepsi-Cola hired him to do something called It's a Small World. And if you've been to either Disneyland or Disney World, you probably have gone to It's a Small World.
And know the song.
And what's interesting is that how you were affected, it affects today the same way. And the first time I went to that ride, I went, I was, very young. Which was a long time ago, by the way. And there was a Navy kid, he was probably 20 or something, sitting on one of the rows of the little boats that go around. And, that song was playing, It's a Small World. And the guy was looking with this awe, this feeling of wonder, which even today it chokes me to think about that.
You witnessed this. You saw.
Oh yeah. No, I that was my experience.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I realized what Walt Disney did.
Wow, what a story!
Yeah, because I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how important you are. To bring somebody to wonderment is just something that's priceless.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'd never heard that story before.
Yeah. Well, I
Wow.
surprise you once in a while.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's a true story, and I remember like if it was today.
so here was this, in theory, kind of a rugged, tough Navy sailor in his uniform,
Yeah.
and he was standing there like with childlike wonder looking at this thing.
Yeah, yeah. His mouth was, half open, and he was just looking at this like, oh my God, this is incredible. But the most incredible thing about Disney works, a lot of them, is that they have the same appeal today.
Right.
And I've been lucky enough to, because I'm a Walt Disney fanatic, actually. I've been to Tokyo Disneyland, which is something that if you ever have the opportunity to go to Japan, first of all, it's an incredible country.
We did a whole show on that. You should check that out, folks.
Yeah, and but if you go to Tokyo Disneyland, the girls go dressed as Minnie Mouses.
Wow.
And it's just a total different. It's just beautiful, and when you go to It's a Small World, the Japanese understand it just like anybody else in the world would, because it's a small world.
Right.
And just think of the kind of mentality that brings that to people, to just think it's a small world and it's beautiful. And yeah, there's differences, but they're all beautiful differences, and just incredible.
It really is. I remember in the 70s when I was a kid at your house in your famous den that you had where the TV and the couches were and everything. Not only did I see the first VCR ever in my life, an RCA with the big click dials, but you had a Mickey Mouse telephone that I never forgot.
Oh, I still got it.
You still have that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was neat. Who's your favorite Disney character? And I'm going to tell you mine.
Well, truthfully,
we're hearing a duck noise, actually.
Yeah,
so
right. My phone has a duck noise, and I didn't shut the thing off. So.
That's a good segue into characters with the duck noise.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
It's funny. I always liked Donald Duck.
I love Donald Duck. He's always pissed off.
Yeah. I always liked Donald Duck. I like Goofy a lot.
Those are my two favorites.
I when we were talking about this.
I swear to God, I was going to say Donald Duck and Goofy.
Yeah, and it's just great, but all his characters took so much work, I mean,
right.
My God, just, it was, plus the other thing about that people don't realize about Walt Disney is from the development of sophisticated cameras.
Right.
He actually needed to do things with cameras that nobody else had done. So he invented all this stuff. So this is a guy, which is the ultimate positive mental attitude guy, probably. And we talked a lot about other guys that are phenomenal, but this guy, he was uneducated formally. He was a failure, and he bet everything on what he believed. And he gave to the world things that he's still giving them, by the way. I don't know of anybody else that, keeps this like he does.
Yeah.
I mean, this happiness, that's what he produced, happiness.
And if you look at the cinematic innovations, for example, Fantasia, when it came out in 1940, nobody had ever seen something like that before.
No.
The symphonic score and all that stuff. And
oh, yeah, he was very sophisticated also. And what's funny is that the lady that wrote Mary Poppins, I guess, was a very, I don't want to use the word hard-headed because it's a word, but she did not want Mary Poppins to be made into some kind of a show thing. And Walt Disney actually, there's a movie about it, by the way.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And it's really worth watching because it's very well done. But he not only did he want to have Mary Poppins, but he knew he wanted Julie Andrews, and he actually went to see Julie Andrews in London and convinced her to be Mary Poppins. And so this guy it's just incredible what this guy did. Just really, so if you want to take something to copy, and I'm not saying that everybody can be a Walt Disney, but there's a lot of lessons that can be learned by his stamina of doing what he thought was correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to close our show, I want to read one other fact that was actually very moving to me, because I think it's very symbolic and very, very touching. But according to my research, and I don't know if this is still the case, but there's a hidden apartment inside Disneyland. Walt had a private apartment above the firehouse on Main Street, USA, where he stayed while overseeing the park. Today, the lamp in the window remains lit as a tribute to Walt Disney, symbolizing that Walt's presence and vision still lives on forever and ever.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I knew that he had a apartment, but I didn't know about the light. That's nice to know.
Isn't that neat? The lamp is on, just like Walt is still up there working on stuff.
Yeah,
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, that is.
Well, friends, we hope you enjoyed our talk about Walt Disney and not only just fun facts and interesting cartoon characters, but once again, what it really means. And that is that people who don't give up, we just keep discovering this, Norb. People who don't give up always win.
And even if you don't achieve what you want to do, at least you've tried. What else is there?
Right.
Don't be a failure before trying. If you try, you're not a failure.
Absolutely. That's right.
It's that's the key.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
And everybody listening, thank you so much for being with us. For Norb Savannasini, this is Al Edwards, and we'll see you on our next show. Thank you.